And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez.
And welcome to all of our listeners and viewers around the country and around the world. The Senate has confirmed General David Petraues as the new commander of the Afghanistan war in a unanimous vote of 99-0. Petraues was tapped as Afghan war commander after his predecessor, General Stanley McChrystal, was fired over disparaging remarks he made about the Obama administration that were published in a Rolling Stone article. In addition to the widely publicized comments McChrystal and his team made about top officials, including Vice President Joe Biden, Richard Holbrooke, and Carl Eikenberry, the article exposed long-standing disagreements between civilian and military officials over the conduct of the war. President Obama announced he was stripping McChrystal of his command last week.
And as difficult as it is to lose General McChrystal, I believe that it is the right decision for our national security. The conduct represented in the recently published article does not meet the standard that should be set by a commanding general. It undermines the civilian control of the military that is at the core of our democratic system. And it erodes the trust that's necessary for our team to work together to achieve our objectives in Afghanistan.
General McChrystal announced his retirement from the military Tuesday after a 34-year career. He called his comments published in Rolling Stone a mistake reflecting poor judgment. Michael Hastings is the reporter who broke the story in the Rolling Stone. The article is called The Runaway General. Michael Hastings joins us now in our studio. He is just back from Afghanistan. We welcome you to Democracy Now!
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Were you surprised at the effect of your article, Michael?
Very surprised. I'd been reporting this article for a number of months, and I knew I had very strong material, but I did not know what the impact was going to be. I figured it would be, maybe give General McChrystal and his team a headache for a couple days, and then it would be swept under the rug, and I'd lose my access, and we'd go on, and I'd write another story. They would kind of think I'm a jerk, and we'd go on from there.
But the article, interestingly, I think most of the coverage was of the few remarks of the general or his staff. But you laid out a pretty convincing argument that General McChrystal had been in conflict with the Obama administration almost from the very beginning.
Sure, and I think I wanted to actually write a somewhat sympathetic and different portrait of General McChrystal, and I was surprised that the sort of comments that people have talked about so much. But yeah, I mean, the story was about using General McChrystal as a way to look at the larger problems with our Afghanistan strategy. Obviously, there were tensions with the White House. That was confirmed right after the piece came out when President Obama decided to fire General McChrystal. Obviously, there were problems between General McChrystal and the civilian side of things, and now there's a lot of rumors about kind of a shakeup on the civilian side of the folks involved in the Afghanistan policy. Obviously, there's problems among the troops who are not happy with the rules of engagement that General McChrystal has sort of pushed down on them. So there were very serious issues. There's problems with the withdrawal timeline. I had a senior military official in Kabul tell me that if things were going well, they're going to ask for another surge of troops next summer. So these were all issues that they'd been out there. And I think the reporters covering the stories have done a great job for the Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, New York Times. I mean, they do a great job of McClatchy. They do a great job of covering this stuff. I think it just happened to be this moment where in Rolling Stone we were able to take all these sort of feelings and sentiments that were out there and just concentrated in 8,000 words or 6,000 words or whatever it was, and that's why it created such an impact.
A lot was made just at the beginning of the article. For example, you going with them to a bar in Paris, to General McChrystal and the senior staff.
Right.
The images of the senior staff dancing to the words Afghanistan. Can you describe that scene, by the way?
Sure. I had got off the plane in Paris, I believe, on Thursday. That was a Friday night, I believe, if my memory serves. It was General McChrystal's 33rd wedding anniversary, and I just happened to have sort of stumbled onto this thing at the right time, and we went to this bar. It's around the corner from one of the hotels in Paris. It's sort of your cheesy Irish pub, and these guys were infantry guys letting loose, and I wasn't surprised necessarily about that. I spent a lot of time with the military. My younger brother is a decorated combat veteran and was a platoon leader in Iraq. So I've been around military guys when they tie one on, so to speak. I'd never seen folks at this high level do so. And I was sympathetic to them in the fact that, you know, they have very difficult jobs. And the past 9 years, they have been living and fighting these wars. The wars are their, you know, reason of existence in many ways. So yeah, there was, you know, songs, a lot of booze. There was only 2 quotes that I used from that night. You know, some people have said, oh, you know, all these quotes I have were from boozy dinner. No, that's not actually true. Most of the quotes, there's only 2 quotes that were taken while these guys were drunk. The Afghanistan song, which if you count as a quote.
So they're dancing and singing.
Dancing and singing, and, you know, giving toasts, and fairly typical sort of Band of Brothers sort of atmosphere. I mean, these guys are very tight knit. I mean, to General McChrystal, those men on his team are his family. You know, these guys, they would do anything. They'd die for each other, and that's what General McChrystal told me, and that's actually the only quote I used from that night, besides the Afghanistan song. So in many ways, it was a very powerful moment just to see the people who were really shaping the policy of this war in a setting that we'd never, at least I had never seen them in such a setting before.
Some in the mainstream media have said you violated the so-called ground rules in writing your article. So let me play a clip from Lara Logan, the chief foreign affairs correspondent for CBS News. She's interviewed by Howard Kurtz on CNN.
If you had been traveling with General McChrystal and heard these comments about Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Jim Jones, Richard Holbrooke, would you have reported them?
Well, it really depends on the circumstances. It's hard to know here. Michael Hastings, if you believe him, says that there were no ground rules laid out. And I mean, that just doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, because if you look at the people around General McChrystal, if you look at his history, he was the Joint Special Operations Commander. He has a history of not interacting with the media at all. And his Chief of Intelligence, Mike Flynn, is the same. I mean, I know these people. They never let their guard down like that. To me, something doesn't add up here. I don't believe it.
The Washington Post quoted an unnamed senior military official as saying that Michael Hastings broke the off-the-record ground rules. But the person who said this was on background, wouldn't allow his name to be used. Is that fair?
Well, it's kryptonite right now. I mean, do you blame him? The commanding general in Afghanistan just lost his job. Who else is going to lose his job? Believe me, all the senior leadership in Afghanistan are waiting for the axe to fall. I've been speaking to some of them. They don't know who's going to stay and who's going to go. I mean, the question is really, is what General McChrystal and his aides were doing so egregious that they deserved to end a career like McChrystal's? I mean, Michael Hastings has never served his country the way McChrystal has.
Lara Logan, Michael Hastings, your response?
Look, Lara Logan's done fine.
She's chief correspondent for CBS.
Sure, and she's done fine work. I think it's unfortunate that she decided to go down this road. I know she's been the victim of a lot of journalistic backbiting in her career, and I thought it was unfortunate that she decided to go down this path with me. I've been upfront about this from the beginning. Everything I used was on the record. I mean, and that's clear. I mean,
was there a lot you used that you did not use because it was off the record?
There was a lot of on-the-record material that I didn't use that I could have used. So I think, you know, this sort of pushback from anonymous military officials. Look, it took them 6 days to get their story straight, and they're still lying. I think that's unfortunate. Obviously, look, the anonymous officials are guys who just lost their job, and the guy they love, General McChrystal, got fired. I totally understand why they're angry. But I've been in this business now for almost 10 years. I've done a lot of stories. I have a pretty good track record. I've been covering the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan since 2005, and you know, so I followed all the rules here as they were laid out to me, or in some cases not laid out.
I want to get back to some of the substance of the article, beginning with the title itself, "The Runaway General," and because I think to some degree that does summarize a main theme of the article, that there were constant problems, not only in terms of the relationships with the White House, but there were also questions of General McChrystal's role in the Pat Tillman, in the infamous Pat Tillman case, the NFL star who was killed by friendly fire. You mentioned that. Right. There were questions about to what degree he knew about torture or abuses at a particular camp in Iraq. Could you talk about the continuing problems that McChrystal had over many years?
Sure. Well, I think the story here really, and what sort of got everyone's attention, is the relationship between General McChrystal and the Obama White House. And I think what had happened when President Obama put General McChrystal